blindfolded with Paulie. Paula Malignaggi, am I saying that right? Paulie Malignaggi, he went in and sparred with Conor. He's going to be part of that camp. He was pretty supportive. They took some photos. The photos favored Conor. You know, the old expression of pictures worth 1,000 words. So Paulie kind of got his feelings hurt. And it's like, okay, Paulie, I got to stop you right there. I understand your feelings are hurt. However, they're only promoting one of you, the two of you. They're only promoting Conor right now. So, of course, the photos that come out are going to favor Conor. How could you have your feelings hurt or act like that was a surprise? And he thought it was a very underhanded move, left the camp, and now he's kind of speaking out about it. I mean, what do you make of that? What do you make of all this fall? He hasn't quite come out to go as far as, hey, I went 8 rounds with him and I whipped him 6 of them. He hasn't come out and told us that, and I'm so curious. I wish that he would. I want to hear. Eventually, he'll tell us. But what do you make of that? What do you make of this falling out that Conor's having with Paulie?
It's interesting, you know. I guess some of these dudes are sensitive as fuck. I don't understand that. Like, how can you be a former world champion and be that sensitive? It's like, you know, it's a push down. Oh, who gives a damn? You know, if you say it's a push down, like, okay, Conor's fans are going to say he whooped your ass anyway, regardless of what picture you show. You know, you can show a picture of Paulie landing a right hand, and Conor's fans are still going to get on and say, okay, but I bet he countered right after that.
He blocked it with his face. Look at this block by Conor with his nose. Right.
I will give it this. I do think that Conor is training the right way for this fight. Because he doesn't have that much boxing experience. So maybe Conor did try and make it like a fight, and just to get some of that experience out of the way, you know, bring in a crowd. Because when you train over in Mayweather's, I've done some sparring over in Mayweather's, and it's different. It's a lot different than it is at any other type of MMA gym. You know, when I go over to Extreme Couture and we spar, you know, it's kind of like that team aspect. It's almost like a wrestling team. You know, everybody's sparring at once. When you go over to Mayweather's and you spar, it's you and the guy, and there's maybe 40, 50 people. There's even spectators there. They've got stadium seats set up for people to watch the sparring. So it is, you kind of get that, you know, you still get that same nervousness. You still get that same feel. So that's why a lot of these, even guys like Floyd, like he actually fights. He doesn't just spar. You know, he's fighting with 16 ounces in headgear. So I think Conor is trying to recreate that a little bit, and maybe Paulie just took it the wrong way.
So let me give you a scenario. So maybe you can explain the difference between the sparring at a boxing gym like Mayweather's, an MMA gym like Randy's. If we're going MMA, you and I are teammates, you've been in a couple of rounds, I'm a fresh guy, I come in, you're worn down, you're having a hard time protecting yourself. I'm still pushing and pulling in, I'm pushing your lungs, but that's as far as it goes. I'm taking care of you. You're looking out for me back, that's it. In a boxing gym, if a guy gets tired, do they carry him or they knock his ass out?
Oh no, they knock him out. You know,
they will still hit him as hard as they can.
It's you know, it kind of depends too. If it's two guys and they're of similar skill, regardless if one guy's in camp and he's doing you know, a lot of different rounds with a lot of different guys, when the fresh guy comes in there, he's putting it on him. He's trying to knock your ass out. He is not. At an MMA gym, there might be a couple knockouts here and there, but for the most part, everybody's friends, everybody's teams. When you go to a boxing gym, you know, we pick the sparring partner. He has his own separate coaches. I have my own separate coaches. We go. There's a referee in the boxing gym. I've never seen boxing sparring without a referee in there, and it's because it's like a real fight. No lie.
And the guys will respect him. If the ref says break, the guys at least...
Yeah, absolutely. He'll respect. But he's going to try and knock your ass out. So you got to be ready for that. And it's a different level, and it's a different pace as well.
Sure. That makes me a little bit uncomfortable just because I have seen that a couple of times in person, and maybe in MMA it's a little bit more vicious. But, you know, when a guy is worn down, he's your teammate. He's been in 2 or 3 rounds. A fresh guy's coming in. I've seen the fresh guy come in and be a jerk and try to knock the guy out, or the coaches are encouraging it to go harder. It's like, hey, you gotta, you know, we got little gloves on here, and no, we're just kind of pushing the guy's lungs at this point. But I hear those boxing gyms don't do that, you know, and it does make me a little bit uneasy. I have a cousin. He's 8 years old. He wants to get into boxing, and they came to me for my opinion, and it is just so disorganized in that regard. And then, you know, you go to fight at different gyms, and you trust this guy's coach and weigh in, and then you drive a few hours, and you trust this coach and weigh-ins. They throw them in the ring together. It's like, man, a little more unification would make me a little bit more comfortable. And I'm not a prude about this stuff. I'm not a prude about, you know, the intensity of combat, but some of that I do think, man, you guys are going a little bit far in the gym. Let me ask you a question about Floyd. Does he wear headgear when he spars?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So everybody pads up at least.
Of course.
How big are their gloves? How big are their gloves?
You're professionals. 16 still. Yeah. I mean, you still have to be professional about it. But again, it's just the intensity. It's just it's just a different feel. You know, guys are in there. We're talking shit to each other too. I mean, it's more fun to me because I'm usually the one that's doing the punching and not getting punched. But so,
Kevin, let me ask you a question. flip it around. If you were Conor, how do you approach? If it was you fighting Mayweather, how do you approach it as an MMA fighter?
And this is what this is the point that I kind of drove across to Floyd. He has to respect Conor's game because Conor will bring something different to the table, and it's going to be those. He's not going to outbox Floyd. Everybody knows that, Conor included. So I think if you do, you take the things that boxing deems illegal and you try and work your way around those rules a little bit. Switching stances. And I even gave him the example when Giorgio Petrosian, when he was fighting, you can say, he was damn near the Floyd Mayweather of kickboxing for a long time.
Perfection.
It still is. When you look at him skill for skill against any other kickboxer in the world, you can't find a flaw in his game. But he got knocked out by Andy Risty because Risty had that loopy kind of weird style. And if you remember, I think Risty either threw a right high kick, stepped down into a southpaw stance, which, is just unheard of in traditional kickboxing, and he knocked him out with a left uppercut. I think if Conor was going to win, it's a really big if, it's going to be something like that.
Is it something, sometimes the hardest guys to the wrestler are the new wrestlers? Because they don't move right. They don't do the things that you normally do. Could that happen in this fight? Yeah,
it's going to be different. It's going to be a different pace. It's going to be, we just move different as MMA fighters, which is one thing that I'm kind of worried about with Floyd because he hasn't been sparring many MMA guys. And it's just a different pace and everything. Even like you hear like baseball players say it when you throw on the fastball and you get that one weird dude that throws like that soft, slow, and it still strikes you out. It could be that. So if Floyd underestimates the man, he will get knocked out. That's for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
That surprises me.
No doubt in my mind.
Now, let me ask you this, just as a counter, but, a lot of people do look at their recent fights. I hear, well, Floyd doesn't hit very hard, and he goes the distance, and Conor knocks people out. Okay, fine. Let's just set all that aside. Let's go back to one of Conor's knockouts. In fact, I think it's his only. Was Eddie an official knockout, or they call that a TKO? I actually can't recall. But you get my point. Jose Aldo was a knockout. Now, let me propose this to you. Take that same shot that Jose took. It was vicious. It was brutal. At the end of the night, World Championship changes hands. But when Jose goes down, hypothetically speaking, the referee stops. He sends Conor to the corner. He then begins a 10 count, which turns into about almost 15 seconds. Could Jose Aldo have continued? Because that's the one thing that I think is relevant. Let's say Conor slips that left hand through and he puts Floyd down. Well, you better bet your ass that boxing referee is not waving that thing off until he reaches 10. And you better bet your ass it's going to be the slowest 10 you've ever seen since Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas. So, can Conor hurt him bad enough that the greatest of all time can't get up and return out there? Because that seems to be the hat that everybody is hanging, the hook that everybody's hanging their hat on is this, Conor can knock him out. Conor can, okay. But can he knock him out for 10 full seconds?
Absolutely not.
Really?
I don't think so.
I think that changes things.
Of course he could, but it's you talking about the probability, maybe 0.5%.
So now we're not just talking about Conor.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah, so you're saying there's a chance.
There's a 0.5% chance.
So now, in realistic terms, we're not talking about Conor just catching and just having that lucky puncher's chance that everybody likes to talk about against the best ever. We're talking about he needs 3 of those, and he needs them in the same round. That's the realisticness of what we're talking about. If you want to say Conor can catch him and drop it, fine. I'll drink to that. But can he keep him down for 10 seconds? Can he do it 3 times in the same round to get a TKO? It's a big ask.
I'll say this. Conor, not only is he going against a better boxer, I think he's going against a better championship-level fighter as well. A championship-level fighter is much more than, okay, how can you throw the jab in the right hand? It's so much more even to the mental aspect of it. Floyd doesn't give a damn if people boo. That's what a champion, he's going to go out there and he's going to execute his game plan. He's not going to lean over and walk into some imaginary punch that people think that Conor's just going to, I don't see why people even think Conor hits that hard, to be honest. So
he has some one-punch knockouts.
Yeah, but it's just a different. I don't even know how to explain. We just gonna see on August 26th.
See, for me,
I'm waiting on this. I'm waiting on these odds to get a little bit closer towards Mayweather because I'm betting the house on it. I'm gonna hold you up.
Ryan, is that statement you even just made true that he has some one-punch knockouts? I know he has some one-punch knockdowns. I know Aldo was out. I can't recall off the top of my head if Eddie was out or if it was officially a TKO. I know he has those knockdowns, but don't forget in boxing, he's got to keep that guy down for the world's slowest 10 count. We're really about 15 seconds.
Sure. So when they're in the ring that night, how much will each guy weigh?
Conor will be significantly bigger. He'll probably be 168, 169. I would
What do you
imagine.
think Floyd will weigh?
I think that's where he's optimal, and Floyd maybe 152, 151 pounds.
He's that small.
Oh, he won't even weigh in at 154.
No. But in boxing, it's so much different. The weight doesn't matter as much, to be honest with you. It matters obviously in the clinch, but it doesn't matter that much. It's not as much as it does in MMA. In MMA, you can lean on the guys. It's so much more in boxing. Anytime that Conor gets that clinch, the ref's going to break him up. So I don't even think he'll be able to